All right, so today we are diving into a really fascinating text, one that looks at an ancient spiritual practice, not so much as an act of faith, but as a kind of super science. We're going to explore the Gayatri Mantra and the pretty bold claim that it's a precise tool for transforming human potential.
So let's just start with the big question right up front. Could a simple sequence of ancient sounds actually be a form of technology, for the mind and body? The source material we're digging into argues, well, yeah. It presents a case that's part spiritual, for sure, but also, surprisingly, part scientific. Okay, so before we can even get to the how, the science part, we first have to get a handle on the what. So according to the source, what exactly is the Gayatri Mantra to begin with? Well, the text gives Gayatri this huge foundational role. It calls it Vedmata, which literally means the mother of the Vedas. The idea here is that all supreme knowledge, everything worth knowing, flows from this one single creative source. It's not just part of the system, it's the origin point where it all begins. And this slide really breaks that idea down. The four great Vedas are seen as the direct children of Gayatri, and each one governs a key part of our lives. You've got the Rig Veda, which is all about our inner life, compassion, spirituality. Then there's the Yajur Veda, which covers worldly things like leadership and courage. The Sam Veda is the fun one, arts, music, creativity. And finally, the Atharva Veda deals with the practical stuff like wealth and prosperity. So the source is essentially saying that the DNA for all of these different kinds of knowledge is packed right inside Gayatri. So, okay, if Gayatri is the source code for everything, then why practice it? What's the goal here? The text uses some really powerful metaphors to explain the why. It talks about two key images. First, there's Kamtenu, this mythical heavenly cow that gives endless spiritual nourishment. And then there's the Kalpavraksha, the wish-fulfilling tree. So metaphorically, the mantra is being framed as this incredible tool that can both nourish you on a deep spiritual level and also help you achieve your righteous desires. But here's the crucial part. How does it fulfill those desires? The text argues that it gets to the root of the problem by taking on what it calls the three causes of all human suffering. First step is ignorance, not really knowing who you are or having a warped view of the world. Second is infirmity, which is just a fundamental weakness, whether it's physical, mental, or spiritual. And third is inadequacy, that nagging feeling of, I don't have enough. So the practice is positioned as a direct attack on these universal problems we all face. And that brings us to the core claim of this whole thing. If it can solve these huge problems, how in the world does it work? This is where the whole argument shifts from philosophy to what the author presents as a precise, repeatable science. The whole theory hangs on this idea. Sound is energy. Simple as that. So, chanting the mantra isn't just about prayer. It's about generating very specific vibrational frequencies. The text claims these vibrations literally travel through the body and physically stimulate glands and other subtle energy centers, waking up powers that are just lying dormant inside us. And this is where it gets incredibly specific. I mean, look at this diagram. It's taken right from the source. This isn't some vague, abstract idea. It actually maps each and every one of the 24 syllables of the Gayatri Mantra to a very specific point, a granthi, or gland, inside the human body. It's presented like a detailed anatomical chart of our spiritual energy system. Let's just look at a few examples from that map to see how it works. The syllable tat, for instance, is said to stimulate a gland called tapini to awaken the energy of success. The sound sa targets a gland called safalta to bring out bravery. Go stimulates gomati for a sharper intellect. You see the pattern? This is the super science in action, a direct causal link between a sound, a part of the body, and a specific quality or power. So really, the conclusion from the source is that this isn't some mystical process you just have to believe in. It's being presented as a form of spiritual technology, a repeatable method where specific inputs, the sounds, are claimed to produce predictable outputs in the human system. It's a science of spiritual growth. So the final piece of the puzzle is, who is this for? The source is really clear that this practice isn't just for a handful of ancient mystics. It goes to great lengths to show that this science has a broad historical context and is meant to be universally accessible. And to prove that point, the source lists this incredible range of people who practiced it. You have ancient kings from legendary dynasties, famous sages like Vishwamitra, but then it brings it into the modern era with figures like the social reformer Swami Dayananda and even Mahatma Gandhi. The argument is that this practice clearly transcends any single time period or group. And the text makes a particularly powerful case for inclusivity. It actually quotes a specific decision from 1946. A committee, led by the highly respected scholar Madan Mohan Malviya, formally declared that women have the exact same right as men to the Vedas, and, by extension, to this practice. I mean, that was a huge deal, pushing back against centuries of restrictions. So, after all that, we're left with this really compelling framework from the source material, an ancient mantra reimagined as a universal technology for self-development, and it leaves us with a final, pretty provocative question. In a world totally obsessed with external technology, what possible place could an internal science like this have today? That's what this source leaves us to think about.